Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this exclusive program focusing on issues and situations surrounding Palestine. Joining me today is Haneen Barghouthi from Palestine, a Gift of the Giver's Office. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum salam, my sister. How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, everything is fine. How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, we're good. Sister, could you share with us some information about yourself and the work that you're involved in?
Yeah, I'm Haneen Barghouthi. I'm a Gift of the Givers office coordinator here in Palestine. I've been working with Gift of the Givers since 3 years by now. And we are implementing many projects here in Palestine, in Gaza, Jerusalem, and the West Bank. And during the last events that happened and still happening in Palestine, we have intervened in many interventions I will be talking about later in this show, inshallah.
Yes, before we get into that, I just want you to share with us what inspired you to join Gift of the Givers.
Actually, I've been always wanting to work in the humanitarian field, and I was working in another NGO before Gift of the Givers, and we used to work also in humanitarian field. And from this, the previous organization, I've met Gift of the Givers, and we've worked together in Palestine, and we have and seeing the enormous and the amazing work that Gift of the Givers is doing to help those in vital need all around the world is very inspiring, and you just can't start working and seeing their work and leave. It's very inspiring. It's very humanitarian. Seeing the people smiling, seeing how much you are helping other people is just a bless, alhamdulillah. So you just can't start in the humanitarian work and then leave. It's something you will keep doing your whole life. So alhamdulillah, it's a great opportunity for me to work in Gift of the Givers, and it's a bless, and I will be working inshallah for many more years.
Alhamdulillah, it's so nice to hear your dedication. I'm gonna take you a bit back. I'm going to take you to the time before the ceasefire, and then I want you to talk us through what happened after the ceasefire in Palestine. Are you able to share that with us?
Yeah, Palestine has been under occupation since 73 years. It's not something new on the Palestinians. We have been living in occupation and in siege since many years. And Gaza, for specific, has been under siege since 15 years and have been through 4 wars by now. So the situation with each war, you just can't get used to it. It's really hard. It's heartbreaking. You're just standing. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to help people. So working with an organization such as Gift of the Givers or any other humanitarian organization, it gives you the power to help people, the power to make a little bit of a change during such hard times. So the situation in Palestine is really hard, and it's getting more complicated. Even with the ceasefire, the situation in Jerusalem is getting more complicated. It is now, after the ceasefire in Gaza, it's okay. Yeah, the results of the war are now seen. During the fire and during the attack, you just can't see the enormous destruction, the enormous aggression and the results of that aggression. So now, with the ceasefire, we are seeing the results of this war, and it's really heartbreaking. It's really bad. The situation needs enormous help, enormous efforts to at least make it the same as before the war, not better. So it's a bit hard.
Yeah. When the bombings were beginning, where were you at the time?
Me, I'm located in the West Bank in Ramallah, so I'm a little bit far from the bombing. So I was in my house watching my sisters and brothers in Gaza being bombed. So it is really hard and heartbreaking. So I'm not under the air strikes. I'm not under bombing. I'm near there in Ramallah, and but also in the West Bank, the situation is not much easier than Gaza, a lot easier. It is hard, of course, not as much as Gaza since we don't have bombing, but we are occupied and we have checkpoints all over the place. It's really hard for us to move freely. It's really hard for us to do anything. And it's occupation, so it's hard in all aspects, in all life aspects. But in Gaza, of course, the situation is way worse, especially during the war.
And did you see an influx of people running towards Ramallah out of Gaza?
Of course not, because Gaza is under siege since 15 years, and people from Gaza are not allowed to enter Ramallah, and people from Ramallah are not allowed to enter Gaza. So people in Gaza are sieged in a very small land, which is Gaza. It's really small. It's almost 300 kilometers. So yeah, 2 million people are living in that small area of land and are being bombed. And you in Ramallah and in the other parts of Palestine, you just can't do anything to help them because there is Erez checkpoint between Ramallah and Gaza, and it is completely closed. You can't cross it even with permissions. You can't just go there. It's totally not connected.
So how do you feel knowing that your other Palestinian brothers and sisters are on the other side and they're not able to come and run to Ramallah for assistance? How do you feel about that?
It's really hard since I used to wake up every morning during the war time and send messages to my friends. Are you okay? Are you alive? Yeah. Can you imagine? We're just asking them, are you alive? And they send me messages like, fine, we're alive. Everything is better now. The bombing is near, but we're fine. So it's just really frustrating. It's really hard to handle. And Gift of the Givers actually has a team there in Gaza, and we are in a continuous communication. We communicate with each other all the time. So it's really heartbreaking, and it's really hard to feel how helpless you are when you are in Ramallah and they are in Gaza, and we only can pray for them. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard on everyone.
You mentioned about Gift of the Givers and how you're communicating with each other. What sort of interventions has been done by Gift of the Givers in Jerusalem?
In Jerusalem, okay. Since Jerusalem, since the first day of Ramadan, had been under attacks and isolating by the Israeli forces and settlers. Huge numbers of injured. We got there more than 600 injured people were because of the rubber-covered bullets and the grenades and the skunk water that the Israelis used to throw on the worshippers and the civilians in Jerusalem. So in Gift of the Givers, we have distributed food meals for the worshippers in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And we have also distributed food parcels for the families living in the old city of Jerusalem near Al-Aqsa Mosque. And these families that were affected not only by the Israeli attacks, but also by the COVID-19 before the pandemic, before the Israeli attacks. So their situation was really harsh and really bad. We helped them buy food parcels. We have also supported a medical point in Al-Aqsa yards, coordination with the Palestinian Red Crescent. That medical point was meant to help the injured immediately when they got the injury. So yeah, we supported that medical point, and we have incoming interventions we will conduct in Jerusalem. First of all, will be the housing. We will conduct a rental payment housing project for the families living near Al-Aqsa Mosque, since the rents in Jerusalem are really expensive and the Israelis are doing their best to empty the city from its original Palestinians. So we will help them with the rental projects. We will also help them to renovate the poor families' houses. And we will be helping them with paying their taxes, since the Palestinians in Jerusalem have to pay big amounts of taxes for the Israeli municipality. So we will help them pay part of these taxes. And of course, we will continue with the medical support that we always do. We have been doing since years in Jerusalem. We support the poor patients, medical support for the poor patients by covering their procedures, giving them artificial limbs, providing them with medical supplies, and of course, supporting the hospitals as well with the equipment and medical supplies.
I want to talk more about this and the taxes, but I'm going to take a short break now, and we'll be back just after the short break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Joining me today is Haneen Barghouthi from the Palestinian Office of Gift of the Givers. Haneen, earlier on you were talking about the amount of taxes that have been put on the residents in Jerusalem. Are you able to share with us how much is the taxes at the moment?
The taxes that the Palestinians living in Jerusalem or the Palestinians holding an Israeli ID have to pay for the Israeli government are enormous. They pay taxes for their houses, for the health support they get. They pay taxes for almost everything if they have a business, and the taxes are forced for each Palestinian, not only the whole family as a whole, but each member of the family has to pay taxes. And let's say the minimum amount of taxes that the Palestinians have to pay is, let's say, between $400 to $1,200 each member. So yeah.
And does the person have to be working or a certain age to pay those taxes?
No. All Palestinians have to pay these taxes. If you are not working, you can have, let's say, a discount, or they minimize that a little bit, the taxes, but eventually you have to pay the taxes. You pay less than the people working, of course, because the people who works or have businesses have to pay more taxes for their businesses and for each thing they work in. So yeah, the taxes in Jerusalem is a big obstacle facing the Palestinians there. And if these Palestinians didn't pay the taxes, they will face many consequences, as they will be prevented from traveling, they will be stopped from working, and maybe they will get arrested eventually. So yeah, it's a very important project that we will be working on, which is helping these people who cannot afford to pay the taxes and paying part of their taxes.
And tell me, in terms of the age, what age group does the taxes apply towards?
I don't know exactly the exact age, but I guess once you reach 18, you have to pay the taxes for yourself. But even the families that has children have to pay about on their children. So everyone is asked to pay taxes.
So the parents are basically asked to pay taxes even for their children, even though their children are not working, or even though their children are trying to study. And I just want to understand, so if a Palestinian is moved out of Palestine, do they still have to pay taxes?
If he moved out of, but I don't have specific information to be sure. I don't want to share false information.
Yes.
But I guess if you have a house in Jerusalem, you will still have to pay each month or each year, even if you left.
So you're saying even if you move out of Jerusalem and you have another property somewhere else, you still have to pay the taxes?
If you have a property inside of Jerusalem, you will have to pay the taxes on that property.
On the property, not on your individual self.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the work also being done in Gaza, can you share the information about the work that's currently underway in Gaza?
Yeah, of course. Since the very beginning of the last war on Gaza, Gift of the Givers has instantly started working there. During the war days, we have distributed food meals and food parcels for the families who have been displaced from their homes and were taking shelters in the UNRWA schools. So we have distributed food for these families. We have also distributed life essentials for these families, as well as we have filled the water tanks for many families since the major line of water in Gaza got bombed and got destroyed by the Israeli airstrikes. We have also supported the injured people in Gaza with the hygiene kits and as well with medical supplies. We have also supported the hospitals in Gaza, that were over capacity. The injured people and the patients were over the capacity of the hospital, so we have supported them with medical equipment and with medical supplies. We have a lot of interventions that will be taking places in the next days and months in Gaza. We will be working in the housing project, which is paying rental for the people who got their houses bombed and destroyed, the displaced people. We will be renovating the places and houses that got slightly damaged, not totally damaged. We will be assisting as well the poor families that lost their source of income. We will be assisting them financially, and we will also medically support the injured people who got injured during the war, who will need to have medical procedures or artificial limbs. We will be conducting a full medical project for them. We will also support the healthcare workers, and either financially, since they haven't got their salaries for months by now. We will support them financially, and we will also give them a trauma counseling. The trauma counseling will be for the kids who got severely traumatized by the war. We will also conduct a microfinancing project, microfinancing to support the businesses that got destroyed and the people who lost their businesses and their source of income during that war, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, this is enormous and great efforts being done by you and the team from Gift of the Givers. Sister, tell me, would you like to send a final message that you would like for our viewers to hear?
I would love to say that Gift of the Givers has always been a key factor in helping people in Palestine. And Gift of the Givers depends on the help of the generous people of South Africa. So we would love to really thank the people of South Africa for their generous support, for funding Palestine, for helping Palestinians. We would like to thank them also for morally support us, not only financially supporting us. Thank you for always standing beside us, for always checking on us, for always talking with us. It's really giving us the power to move on, to continue our work. So thank you very much. South Africa is a great example of liberation, of fighting for freedom. So it's from Palestine, we would like to thank you for everything you have done for Palestine, and we would like for you to keep us in your prayers. And thank you very much for everything you have done.
Thank you so much, Sister Haneen Barghouthi from Palestine, who's given us information on what is currently happening in Palestine, in Gaza, and in Ramallah, and in Jerusalem. In our next program, we're going to be talking to another Barghouthi member of the family, where we're going to find out more about what's happening also on the ground. Welcome back. Joining me now is Khaldoun Barghouthi from Ramallah, a journalist and also an editor. Welcome and assalamu alaikum, Khaldoun.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Khaldoun, for our viewers to understand more about what you're hearing on the ground, are you able to share with us information about what you've been seeing after the ceasefire?
Well, both sides, the Palestinian side and mainly the Palestinian factions in Gaza and the Israeli leadership, they declared a ceasefire, let's say mutual ceasefire, but they did not negotiate yet the conditions for this ceasefire. So it's kind of waiting to get a clear let's say, reply from both sides, what they want, what their demands. In Israel, they are putting, let's say, strict conditions concerning reconstruction in Gaza, the missing soldiers or the soldiers who were captured in Gaza in 2014 to be returned back with another Israeli civilian. On the other side, the resistance in Gaza, they have their own also terms concerning the siege in Gaza, concerning the Israeli aggression against Al-Aqsa and in Sheikh Jarrah and other neighborhoods in Jerusalem. So it's still a process of ceasefire that international and Arab efforts are working hard to make it maintain and continue. But still the situation is tense, and any development on the ground, mainly in Jerusalem, could lead to a new escalation.
And what's your headline today for your newspaper?
Well, the concentration now is on the political efforts to strengthen, let's say, or to maintain the ceasefire. This is one side, and the second is concentration. The second concentration is on the political, let's say, movements that happened recently. The visit of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to Ramallah and to Israel, and his tour in the Middle East. And there is a U.S. decisions concerning reopening the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem, recognizing that Jerusalem or East Jerusalem is a territory under occupation, and the U.S. efforts to reconstruct the U.S.-Palestinian relations that deteriorated in Trump, let's say, Trump era.
And what's the feeling on the ground from your side? How do you feel Antony Blinken's visit? Is it going to make a lot of difference for the people on the ground?
It's early to decide. It depends on what comes next, how the let's say the agreements are achieved, what will happen in Gaza, what will happen to the ceasefire and the agreement that will it hold on or it will collapse. It depends on what Israel is going to do in Jerusalem. Yesterday there was supposed to be a trial to an Israeli court to decide what will happen in Silwan neighborhood in Jerusalem. Will the Palestinians be evicted from there or not? But it seems, for political reasons concerning the situation after the escalation in Gaza or the war against Gaza, it seems that the court under political pressure decided to delay making the decision even without setting a date for the next session. So all these things are happening at the same time. What we feel, the thing that will decide what is coming is the developments concerning the international Arabic efforts to reach an agreement that could make the ceasefire hold on, this is first, and to make the situation mainly in Gaza very much better, and to restrain Israel from its aggression in Al-Aqsa Mosque and in the Palestinian neighborhoods in East Jerusalem.
And in terms of the hostilities, we've heard there's still situations on the ground and hostilities is still continuing. From your side, tell us what you're seeing.
The hostilities in Gaza stopped. Yes, we saw that yesterday. There were live broadcasting from Gaza. The leaders of resistance were there, and even they challenged Israel, the Israeli Minister of Defense or Minister of Army, like we say in Palestine. They challenged him if he can do anything. This is one side. In Israel, they have their own political problems forming the new government that could end the political life of Benjamin Netanyahu. This is what's happening on the other side. And we, in the West Bank, we have like I said, the political developments and political visits by not only the Secretary Department of State of the United States, but also some other to promote, maybe to push forward even the almost dead peace process that has been stuck for years. But you know what happens on the ground is like we say, the ball is in Israel playground. What happens from the Palestinians is a reaction to what Israel can do. Netanyahu is in a big problem now. He may lose the rule in Israel. He may lose his position as a prime minister if a new government is formed by the change, what we call change group of political parties in Israel. We don't know what he could do in order to find his action as a way of survival, political survival, and even personal survival, since he is facing a trial on corruption charges. So mainly everything is still in the Israeli playground. Whatever they do could affect all the efforts concerning the ceasefire and concerning the political future in Palestine.
And what about the Palestine elections? What was happening with that?
Well, they were delayed, and it seems that with the aggression, now there is working on putting pressure on the Palestinian leadership to get back or to change the decision and to set a new date for the elections. But you know, it will take some time. Gaza is coming out of war, and I think they will need time to fix the situation there. But it seems that all these things are coming together, and the elections could be part of the Palestinian internal dialogue between West Bank and Gaza. And we have seen the Egyptian effort to bring Hamas, the Palestinian leadership in Ramallah, and maybe Israeli officials to Egypt to hold the talks. I think the Palestinians with each other could also have talks about the internal Palestinian situation, and they may agree on something concerning not only the elections but also the Palestinian settlement to end the Palestinian split.
In terms of the destruction that happened to people's homes, what are you seeing in the aftermath of the ceasefire? Are you seeing support in terms of people on the ground assisting to help others who have lost their homes?
Well, it's a big. We're talking about thousands of houses and apartments that were totally destroyed, and it needs international, in fact, cooperation in order to provide or to reconstruct what was destroyed. It seems that this thing is going on in Gaza. Yesterday, we heard some officials say that they will not even interfere with the international or Arab or Palestinian efforts. Palestinian, I mean, from the PLO side or the Palestinian Authority side to control the reconstruction in Gaza. The most important thing is that the people find a place to live in after they lost their houses. It seems that the escalation in Gaza, the change in the U.S. Leadership by Biden coming to the White House, it led to international understanding that the crisis of Gaza first and the crisis in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict should be ended. And that's why we see all these efforts coming suddenly in 1 week, just because there was an escalation against Israel. Those who are interested in Israeli security in the world, the United States, Israel allies in the EU are coming here to defend Israel. And they believe that they can defend Israel if they can bring peace to the Palestinians. It seems that there is a change, but as I said, everything depends on how Israel act on the ground.
And I just wanted to ask, we were talking about the elections. Which political parties are vying for the post at the moment?
Which political?
Which political parties are after Mahmoud Abbas's position at the moment?
I think it's only we have the PLO that is formed from several Palestinian factions. Some of them supported the decision today, the elections, but the majority of the Palestinian political parties refused that. So it is still a split about it, but I think the talks that should be held between the Palestinian parties, all of them, maybe in Egypt, with some Arab and even international pressure could lead to find a solution to this problem. I think at the end they may find an exit for this crisis that could lead to holding the elections. The problem was with Israel position not to allow the elections because they said that they don't have a government that can make a decision concerning holding the elections in Jerusalem. But now maybe in this week, a new government could be formed in Israel. This, with international pressure, this could remove the Israeli excuse of not having or a decision concerning the elections. If the Israeli refusal is removed, then there will be no excuse for anybody in Palestine to delay the elections.
We'll be back with more from Palestine just after this short ad break. Welcome back. Joining me is Khaldoun Barghouthi from Palestine. Khaldoun, as an analyst for Israeli affairs, what sort of changes have you been seeing after the aggression towards Gaza from Israel? What sort of international attention have you been seeing?
Well, I think I have to answer for this. Concerning Israel and the way they look, critics and analysts in Israel itself consider that what happened was a defeat for Israel on more than one level. On the military level, Israel failed to achieve its goals through the aggression. They could not destroy, let's say, the Palestinian faction's military capabilities. They failed to stop rockets from being launched to Gaza. And this is on the military level, this is considered a defeat or a failure. On the other side, in Israel, also they have a problem with the Palestinian who have been living in Israel since it was established. And there is kind of split. They decided to, in Israel, they worked to show that Israel is a democratic state, but recent events prove that Israel is a racial state against the Arabs, who, even if they were citizens in that state. This is also a second important result of the war against Gaza. Internationally, Israel has been hit badly. The image of Israel is so negative now. We can see that through social media. We can see that through even celebrities who made effect on the international level by showing their sympathy with the Palestinian and by criticizing Israel. All these things together can lead to the conclusion that in the recent aggression against the Palestinian in Gaza, Israel lost in more than one field. They lost the battle itself. They had a very bad image. The Palestinian case or Palestinian-Israeli conflict is back again on the international arena. Officials from the United States, from Europe are rushing to the Middle East, to the West Bank and to Israel in order to end the tension. The U.S. embassy, the U.S. consulate is being reopened in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, and the U.S. recognition of East Jerusalem as territory under occupation is very important, because it's like they are deleting everything Trump administration tried to do or approve. If we look in general, I think Israel is the main loser of this war. Disregard the human losses the Palestinians suffered, but it's unfortunate for every loss of life in the West Bank. It's very sad in Gaza and in the West Bank. It's very sad that this happened. But if we look at the whole image, Israel is the main loser in this battle.
And from analyzing this further, what sort of international change has happened towards Palestine?
The Palestinian conflict with Israel is back alive again. The whole world is looking again to us after they were busy in different issues in different places. They were very much busy with the pandemic of COVID-19. Palestine was forgotten on the international level. Now it's back again. And I think it's a very important chance for the Palestinians to make advantage of this attention toward the Palestinian conflict with Israel in order to achieve political development, to get more profit, political profit, let's say, in order to go on with the Palestinian national project that is establishing an independent Palestinian state. The attention in the international world to Palestine is very important. Israel is getting deep in its crimes, and this puts more files, I think, against Israel on the International Criminal Court. All these things, I think, they are a positive development for the Palestinians, and they are leaving a very negative impact on Israel.
It's sad to know that at the loss of lives and homes that there is some positivity that's come out of this. You know, from your side, do you think that this positivity, what do you want to see actually come out of this positivity?
As I always say, the situation is at the end connected to what Israel is going to do. They usually have the action, and then comes the reaction, not only from the Palestinians, but from the rest of the world. What we want is to live freely, to be treated as human beings in our own independent, free, sovereign state. Israel is preventing that. They enjoyed the support of the United States mainly. We believe that if the Palestinians all together make advantage of the recent developments and the international attention toward the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, I think things move forward, either to find a solution for this conflict, or at least to make Israel accountable for their crimes towards the Palestinians.
Thank you, Mr. Barghouthi, for your time today. Inshallah, we will reconnect with you for more updates from your side. Do stay tuned, as we will join you again, inshallah, tomorrow, same time.